I guess first and foremost, for those people that don't really know about Tall Tales, why don't you give me a little background about Tall Tales, kind of like, where you started, where you've been, where you're going, so on and so forth.
Well, we started back in 2010, and just kind of been doing it ever since. Put out some records, did some touring, got signed, put out a full length. It's all been working out. So
cool. Like I said, you guys are hardcore. What type of hardcore? And unfortunately, there's 50 million different brands of hardcore, melodic hardcore, beat down. I mean, what do you guys consider yourselves?
I'd personally say we're more of like a hardcore punk band, more of a punk band than anything.
Okay.
Sometimes we throw in the southern influences, but I mean, for the most part, I just call it rock and roll. So
southern influence, like you guys do Freebird or?
No Freebird. We'll just throw in, just like the twangy stuff. I mean, me personally, I'm not, the greatest guitar player. So, it's more of our other guitar player doing, all that cool stuff. But, it's, people have said that, it has that southern feel to it. So that's cool,
Cool. Okay. I dig it. Regardless of what you want to call it, I like it. I try not to put a lot of emphasis on genres. Heavy music is heavy music, and that's what we do. So
there you go.
There it is. I guess next question. You guys have done all these things. You've been signed. You've toured. I mean, where are you heading? What's the end game? What's the goal?
I mean, the goal is always...
Other than the obvious.
Obvious. I mean, the goal always, for me has been to be on the road 10 months out of the year. Just going and being on tour all the time. It's just all I've ever wanted to do. I mean, I've been doing this for almost, 13 years now. And it's just like, that's it for me. Like, I've never been about the money. I've never been about the fame. But, I mean, if I could play a show every day, that'd be cool.
Wow, yeah. It's a musician's dream.
Yeah.
Right? What's stopping you? What's holding Tall Tales back? Bands are bands, and everybody's got a backstory, and everybody's got a girlfriend or a kid or a job or whatever. But I mean, what's holding you guys back from doing 10 months a year?
We need a booking agent. I mean, really, truly, honestly, being on the label, that helped us out tremendously. We got a lot of press because of that, and that's always been great. We still maintain a great relationship with Hot Foot Records. Even though, the deal that we signed with them, we have the option to put out the next record with them if we want to or not.
Okay.
Don't really know what we're going to do because we haven't really discussed even writing a record yet. But the whole thing about, being held back, it's really, if we could just get, a good, management team behind us maybe or something like that, because we've been doing it DIY the whole time, and you can only do so much, and you got to establish all those connections, and that's cool, and we have a lot, but we just need more.
You still got to pay for gas and
pay for gas,
per diems and so forth, and that's the life of a DIY band, regardless of what you're playing.
Yeah, everybody else, other than me. I work, 40 hours a week.
Sure.
They all work 40 hours a week. We got apartments or houses or whatever it may be. We do got responsibilities, but it's like we could try to put that all, on the back burner and just go for it. It'd be cool, but it's just we'll have to see, I guess, when the next record comes out. If people are digging it, then hey, maybe we'll get the opportunities. So.
Where have you guys been as far as cities? What kind of rankings would you put in cities? Best, worst?
The best towns are always the small towns. It seems like our favorite towns to play, I know for a fact, always will be our hometown of Kalamazoo.
Mm-hmm.
Fort Wayne, Indiana has always been great to us. as far as like branching out outside the Midwest, I guess you could say. One great town always, last time we went there, and we're going to be going again, this June, is McMecken, West Virginia. Had an excellent time out there, straight up in the mountains, but they were the greatest people I've ever met in my life. Great crowd, the venue, and everything. They did everything for us, and I was just like, wow, like we're just some punk kids from Kalamazoo. Why do we deserve this?
All in the middle of nowhere.
All in the middle of nowhere.
Cool. So tell us about the worst show, whether it be crowd, whether it be sound, whether it be the singer's drunk, whatever. The kind of the worst day in the life of Tall Tales.
I'll never forget this.
Uh-oh.
It was this is a couple years ago, and this is when we were original lineup still,
okay.
And we had played Lansing, Michigan. We played this place called the Black and Moon Concert Hall, and it was our second time we had ever been there. And I remember we were playing. We were like third song in. I don't really know what happened, but there was a microphone stand, and there was a guy, and I'm not trying to be rude when I say this, but he was a paraplegic, and something happened to where this microphone stand just got kicked, and it ended up getting kicked in his face.
Oh, shit.
And our drummer was like, "That's it, I'm not playing anymore." And it was like the most quiet, awkward van ride home. And I was just like, man, I immediately, as soon as we were done, I just went and started guzzling beers. I was like, I'm not dealing with this one. No way. I was just like, just give me the free beer. I'm going to go sit by myself, and you guys have fun hashing this one out.
Anytime you see a guy in a wheelchair that's at any kind of heavy music show, he's probably expecting some kind of bullshit.
Yeah, and he was actually really cool about it. He was like, he's like, keep playing. And I was like, let's keep playing. And everybody was just like, no.
He was the least offended.
Yeah, like everybody else freaked out, and but he was just all about it. So I was like, okay, well,
what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Win some, you lose some.
Leave it to Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah.
So, you did mention that you really haven't done anything with a new record. I mean, is that something that's in the plans for you guys?
Well, typically after every record, we always put out, or, we'll put out a record, and then it seems like a week goes by, and then everybody's like, okay, let's start writing again.
Sure.
And we put out Nightlife March of last year.
Okay.
So
a year.
it's actually been out for 1 year and 10 days, something like that. And it was just like, we just didn't write.
Sure.
It was just really weird. And you see bands like this, they slow down, they stop caring, and it was just like, this is going to be the worst thing that ever happened to us. And now now that we're kind of getting back to a normal thing, because this whole year has been very up and down for us. We've gone through 3 drummers, we lost a bass player, now we're a 4-piece, and it's just like, maybe now, it's the time,
I mean, a lot of bands go through that anyways. There's always turnover.
Yeah.
So that being said, do you feel like you've solidified your lineup here for a while? I mean, the people that are in the door or out the door have made Tall Tales stronger?
I mean, everybody that's ever been in the band has always played a very crucial point. Don't get me wrong. The lineup that we have now, I would say we're the strongest we're ever going to be, as far as everybody being on the same page about what we need to do. But at the same time, I mean, bringing in, because I play bass now, so bringing in, maybe another guitar player that is, a really good friend of ours wouldn't be a bad idea.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, wink, wink. You know who you are. But if that doesn't happen, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with what we are, and,
cool.
We will forge ahead somehow. We always do.
It's kind of addition by subtraction, so to speak.
Yeah.
Cool. So what's on the docket for Tall Tales, in the coming future?
Well, the big thing that I would love to share right now is April 4th, we have a benefit show coming up for us. Recently we had some hard times, some real tough times for us as a band, and it's just we could have did the whole Kickstarter route or, GoFundMe or whatever, one of those the campaign things online.
Sure.
And I was just like, no, let's just do a benefit show and just kind of just throw one big one and try to figure stuff out after that. Because we got a tour lined up in June, we got another tour lined up for the early fall, and it's just like we got to have a good running band to be going out and doing that, because if you don't have that, then you're gonna get stuck somewhere, and then it's just gonna even cost just so much money, and it's just like we don't have that.
Well, if you're watching this, check the link, check it out, help these guys out, spread the word. Why don't you tell everybody what kind of influences that you have musically, whether it be rock, hardcore, metal, whatever it is.
Well, I mean, like because I originally started Tall Tales, 4.5 years ago, and like I didn't play guitar, I didn't know how to do anything, I just picked it up and I was just like, I'm gonna start a band. And I'd been in bands previous, for 8 years before that. I was always a vocalist and it was fun, but I was like, I gotta do something new. And so starting Tall Tales was just like one of those things I had to do. So I picked up the guitar, I learned what drop D tuning was, and wrote a couple songs. But like I just wanted to start a band that sounded like Comeback Kid.
Okay.
Cool. I like hardcore, as far as that style, it's like very positive. People want to come out and two-step, even though it's not cool anymore. But back then,
they're still doing it.
Yeah, not at our shows. So, but I'd like to think that and I it's not even something I think, I know that like Comeback Kid, they were a big influence in me wanting to start Tall Tales. So I just did.
That's a good influence. They 10 plus years.
Yeah, they're a staple in hardcore.
If I were to ask you, what is the one piece of humanity that you dislike the most, what would it be? Dun 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 dun.
I mean, just like anything.
I mean, if it's brown hair, then
the world as a whole, to be honest with you, all the good and bad, it all feeds off each other, and I think that's kind of what makes everything work. So if there wasn't, like for example, if there wasn't like crime, there would be no cops, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Sort of thing. And not that I'm like pro cop or pro police state or anything like that, but
or pro crime.
Yeah, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
like if there wasn't the Ramones, there would be no punk rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
right.
Everything happens for a reason, and so I mean, there's really nothing that I just hate.
Okay.
So
it's action reaction. So basically what you're saying is you're a lover, not a fighter.
I'm definitely a lover.
Fair enough. Step away. Do you think that Michael Jackson is weird because he's a genius, or do you think he's a genius because he was weird?
I think it was both. I mean, I'm from Indiana.
Yeah.
I grew up, maybe 30 minutes from Gary.
Okay.
He's the king of pop. I mean,
Yeah.
I think when you are a solo artist like Michael Jackson, or anybody that is like an icon, you have to be literally not only insane, but the smartest person ever to do something like that.
Sure.
Because I mean, yeah, you might have people writing songs for you or coming up with music for you or whatever it may be, but if you're also doing that on your own, like when you start out, like you had to do something to get noticed.
Sure.
Whatever it was, his was the Jackson 5. He was the one that broke out, But when he did, I mean, granted, in the 80s he did a lot of big things.
Yeah.
But, in the 90s, he got a little weird. But you know what? I mean, bad publicity is good publicity, because everybody still talked about it. I mean, people still talk about Michael Jackson to this day.
We are.
Yeah.
So I'm going to lead you into this. Do you just basically think that he's just fucking weird? I mean, would you just say he was just weird?
He was weird, but I don't personally know the guy, so I don't want to.
No.
I don't want to disgrace him.
He was fucking weird. I'll say it. I'll help my boy out here. If tall tales was a sexual position, what would it be?
Reverse cowgirl.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Oh, we're all about that ass.
All about that ass. You hear that, ladies? Tall tales is all about that ass. It don't matter what color coat you're wearing.